Shalom, shalom, peace, peace. This is Jadiel from the Fourth Angels Learning Center. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to our Five Senses study, our Five Senses series. And today's avenue or door or gate to the mind is the eyes. So we're going to be discussing a few verses. Just so that way we could understand what we need to do as far as our responsibility for these gateways or these five senses that we have. We have a responsibility to make sure that they're constantly fixed or focused on the right thing. So we're going to look at scriptures and how Yah instructed us on how we ought to conduct ourselves with our eyes, right? So before we begin, I want to thank you guys for tuning in once more. And if you would like to support our ministry, if we've been a blessing to you guys, please consider donating, blessing us. You can go to 4alc.com. You can also Cash App us at $4ALC bless, 4ALC BLESS. All right. Don't forget to subscribe and let's get right into it. So, we're talking about guarding the eyes, and I do have a few verses that I do want to cover. So let's share the screen and let's get right to it. Right, let's look at Proverbs chapter 27. Let me see. So I want us to understand this aspect of the eyes as well. It's very important that we understand because we need to, if you go check out the study on the thoughts, on the mind, it'll allow you to understand the deceitfulness of the mind, not only the deceitfulness, the carnality that we have, the carnality that's just waiting for us to let go of Yah so it can consume us. And this is the same thing with our eyes as well. Like what we place our eyes on, what we look at is what we go after. You guys got to understand that all the avenues of the soul, what we put it on is what we end up moving towards or going after, or sometimes even planning on obtaining those things. So we need to be very careful. Look at what it says. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 20. It says, hell and destruction, or the grave and destruction is never full. There's always somebody going into the grave. There's always destruction on this earth, right? But then it compares it to the eyes. It says, so the eyes of men are never satisfied. When we allow the eyes to linger long on things that, let's say, we ought not to have, what it does is it starts to develop evil desire or evil, I would say evil craving in our minds. Our mind begins to be consumed with the things that we look at the most. And I think this is very important because we try to counsel people a lot to make sure that they stop watching, foolish shows, foolish TV, put their eyes on something beneficial, something pure, something true, something that's beneficial to you, learning or whatever it may be. But the more that you put your eyes on the fanciness of this world, the flashiness, the fashion, the materials, you begin to desire those things. You begin not to be satisfied with the things that you have, and you start to pursue those things. And in pursuing those things, you can never be satisfied because the next place that you look, you're going to desire that as well. There's always going to be something new to look at so you can to get your attention. Let's look at another one, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 6, looking at verse 9. It says, better is the sight of eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of the mind, of the spirit. It's better is the sight of eyes than the wandering of the desire. So sight of the eyes. I think this is very important because I think this may be an element that many people don't recognize, that he's just doing a contrast between just seeing something and your desire being all over the place. Well, how is your desires, how does your desires wander? What makes you desire this or that is from you looking at it. You looking at it and perceiving it a certain way. You desiring it. You desire what you look at, right? So the sight of eyes, I believe that is referring to having a control over the sight of your eyes is better than wandering desire. You looking at everything and not being satisfied. It's called vanity or worthlessness or vexation of the spirit. Messiah talks about the wandering of the eyes as well. He talks about looking at a woman out of lust, right? Matthew chapter 5. Let's see if I could find that real quick. Right? Look at what it says here in verse 28, Matthew 5. I say unto you that whosoever looks on a woman to lust, the word lust means evil desire. You look at a woman to have an evil desire after her. That person has committed adultery already in his heart, which we already talked about. Heart means mind. When you look at a woman with an evil desire, you have already committed adultery in your mind. Very important for us to control the eyes. Look at what it says next in verse 29. If your right eye offends you, pluck it out, cast it from you, for it is unprofitable for you that one, it is profitable that one part of your body gets perished, then your whole body perish in hell. You have to understand, this is not a light thing to allow your eyes to be gazing and creating these imaginations and desires in your mind. This is not a game to allow these things to occur. So you have to be in control of your eyes, or you will begin. You could just sit still and just start going against Yah in your mind until your mind is fully consumed with this lust, with this evil desire. The mind can only conjure up, well, one, it conjures up whatever you think about, but two, it conjures up the things that you look at, the things that you listen to, the things that you've tasted, the things that you smelled. You know, there's a lot of times when people go certain places and they become so familiar with those places that when they are not there, it feels that there's something missing until you are there in that place. We have to understand that we have to, if we've received the spirit of Yah, then he's given us not only freedom, but he's given us control. He's given us dominion over this flesh that we are in. So it says, whosoever looks at a woman to desire after her have committed adultery already in his mind. So it's very important. Our eyes go into our minds and it pollutes or it purifies. We're going to look at something else that Messiah says. But first, I want to go back to Psalms. Check this out. Psalms chapter 101. We're going to look at two verses in Psalms, and then we're going to want to talk about an example of this. Psalms 101, we're going to look at verse 3 to 6. He says, I have set no wicked thing before my eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. So you understand, it shall not cleave to me. David understood that looking or setting wicked things before his eyes would begin to cleave to his mind, to cause him to desire those things. So he decided, I'm not going to allow any wicked thing before my eyes. I hate the work of them that will turn aside. It will not, I don't want them to cleave to me. A perverted mind, right? A perverted heart, a perverted mind shall depart from me. So when I look away, a perverted mind will depart from me. I don't know I will not know a wicked person. I don't want to engage or I don't want to understand or perceive or recognize what a wicked person wants. It says, whoso secretly slanders his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that has a higher look and a proud heart, a proud mind, will I not allow. Look at what it says in verse 6. My eyes shall be upon the faithful land, that they may dwell with me. He that walks in a perfect way, he shall serve me. So this is very important for us to see David himself understanding. He's speaking with a clear understanding of what not to do, especially involving his eyes and his mind, not allowing his eyes to be fixed on wicked things, which would cause him to, what he says in verse 3, cleave to it. A corrupted mind will depart from him when he looks away. When he does not put any wicked thing before his eyes, a crooked mind will depart from me. Your thoughts will change. Your thoughts will change. But where is his eyes? His eyes is upon the faithful land. What is the faithful land? What is he referring to? Interesting thing is he's living in Jerusalem. So what is he talking about? He's referring to the promises of Yah. He's the same one that talks about meditating on Yah's word day and night, that his eyes will be on the faithful land, that he may dwell with me. He that walks in a perfect way shall serve me. That means he's going to surround himself. So all he's seeing is righteous men, righteous women, righteous people. He's surrounding himself with a righteous environment so he can look upon righteousness. Let's look at one more, and then we're going to talk about David. Psalms 119, we're going to look at two verses here. Verse 18 says, for open my eyes. So now we see where we're going. Open my eyes that I may behold the wondrous things out of your law. So where is our eyes supposed to be? Our eyes are supposed to be in his word. Our eyes are supposed to be in his understanding, in his instruction. We're supposed to be in constant prayer, recognizing that Yah has something to show us. Yah has something for us to behold. And it is not the wickedness in this world. It is not the wicked things in this world. It is the wondrous things out of his law. Look at verse 37. Verse 37 says, turn away my eyes from beholding worthlessness and make me alive in your way. Establish your word unto your servant who has dedicated to your fear. Turn away my reproach, which I fear, for your judgments are good. It says, behold, I have longed after your precepts and make me alive in your righteousness. So the first thing he says is, turn away my eyes from beholding vanity. Turn away my eyes from beholding vanity. So what was one of David's issues? One of David's greatest mistakes recorded in scripture was the issue with Bathsheba and Uriah's wife. And how did that start? It started from him standing on the roof, I believe. If it's not the roof, he was looking out of his window. So it started of him looking at Bathsheba. Not only looking at her, but looking at her bathing herself naked. And according to Leviticus, you're not supposed to look upon another person's nakedness, especially another person's wife, right? So what did he do? He continued to look at it until his desire was directed towards her. And when his desire was directed towards her, or lust, like Messiah says in Matthew chapter 6 about looking upon a woman with lust after her, then he started to create a plan on how to have her. And when he found out whose wife she was, it didn't matter, because he allowed his mind to be consumed with what he saw and the possibility of what he saw, and obtaining the things that he saw that was pleasing to him. So David understands this firsthand. Many of us do. We're looking at something and pursuing it, and then obtaining it, recognizing, and then realizing, if not realizing, learning later on that this is wickedness. Wickedness that we was partaking in, wickedness that we was indulging in. and sometimes even wickedness that we were deceiving or manipulating another to engage in. So it's very important that we guard our eyes, that we put our eyes on the things that are pure, the things that are righteous, put our eyes on his words, ask him to open up our eyes and that we may behold the wondrous things out of his law, not just surface read. Allow him to bring you in. Allow what your eyes read to open up your mind. So let's look at something that Messiah said that I think is very important as well. Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. Looking at verse 22. Look at what he says. I'm going to read verse 21. Look at what verse 21 says. It says, for where your treasure is, there will your mind be also. There your mind will be also. The light of the body is the eye. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is single, this word is referring to being pure. If your eye is pure, then your whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye is evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? The reason why he's asking the question, how great is that darkness, is because in Jeremiah 17:9, it says that your heart or your mind is deceitful above all things and desperately weak and feeble. Who can know it? So many times people are observing these wicked things and these dark things, right? These evil things, and they're not even understanding what their heart or their mind is starting to engage in. They don't even know what's developing in their wicked mind. Why? Because your mind is beginning to deceive you, making you think, oh, you're stronger than that. You can handle that, right? You can handle those things. You can handle watching those things. You can handle listening to those things, right? You can handle putting those things before your eyes. You're not going to have any wicked thoughts. But that's not what scripture tells us. Unfortunately, this happens a lot with those who walk with Yah, is we tend to get this confidence in ourselves that doesn't even exist. Our confidence is in him. Our confidence is in Yahushua, his son. Our confidence is in his word. Our confidence is in his ruach, his spirit. It's not in us. Our confidence is not in us. It's not in another person. Your confidence shouldn't be in me, and my confidence is not in you. But if you're following Yah, I have confidence in who you're following. I have confidence in that Yah will use you. You understand? Look at what it says in Proverbs. I was reading this in the morning for family worship. Let me see if I could find it. It's talking about the strange woman in Proverbs, from Proverbs chapter 5 all the way to 8. It talks about the strange woman, right? That seduces men. And then where does it say? It says not to even, oh, here we go. There we go. It's in Proverbs chapter 7. It talks about the strange woman. And strange woman is a personification of wickedness, foolishness, temptation to do wicked things, lust, or whatever it may be, murder. It's basically evil and a temptation to do so. So look at what it talks about. It says for us to, this is not to even, let me see. I think it's in chapter 6. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is a very important point that it makes. All right. So it talks about the strange woman in Proverbs 6:24. Let me see if I can. Well, let me start from verse 23. Right? It says in verse 23, Proverbs 6, for the commandment is a lamp and the law is light and reproof of instruction are the way of life. So it's interesting how it says that the eye is the light of your body, but it also says that the eye is the darkness of your body. That based off of what goes in your eye shows how much darkness is in you. But it says here that the commandment is a lamp and the law is light, and corrections of instructions are the way of life. So that means that our eyes are supposed to constantly be on his law, on his commandments. Look at this: to keep you from the evil woman, from flattery of the tongue of the strange woman. So flattery meaning to temptation. It says, do not desire after her beauty in your heart, neither let her take you with her eyelids. So don't let wickedness fool you with the pleasure that you can see. You see people doing it, and there's this moment of, oh, this looks pleasurable. Don't be fooled by it, scripture is saying. I'm trying to see where, well, it has to be chapter 7. There we go. So it says that a person was passing near her corner, and he went the way of to her house. And he says, in the twilight, in the evening, and in the black and dark night. And he says, and behold, there met him a woman in the attire of a harlot and a subtle mind, meaning like they were ready to sneak this person that's passing near her house. Let me see if I could find it. I'm sorry, guys. This is a very important statement I read to my kids, and it was, there we go. It talks about the strange woman a lot. But what it basically said was, it says, don't communicate with the strange woman, and don't even go near her house. Don't even go near her house. And why does it say don't go near her house? Because we need to take the extra measures to make sure that we're clear of temptation. We ought not to be in the vicinity of temptation. If we understand something is a temptation, we need that, and especially if something is evil and is something that's been taking and killing in many people, and we ought not to even engage in that in close proximity to those things. We need to keep ourselves as far away as possible. Look at what it says. Proverbs chapter 4, looking at verse 20 to 25. It says, my children, attend to my words and incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart or your mind. So it's like, don't let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in your mind. How do you keep them in your mind? By keeping your eyes fixed on those things. It says, for they are life unto those that find them, health to their flesh. Why? Because your mind will be revitalized. And if your mind is revitalized, then your actions change. And you have to understand, this is how you give yourself health. Bring yourself out of this depression, out of this consuming of doubt and all these other things out of your mind. You keep your eyes focused on the right thing. You keep your eyes focused on Yah's promises. It will bring health to your flesh. Keep your mind with all diligence. That if it's something that you're not supposed to do, if keeping your mind is something that you're not supposed to do, why does it say keep your mind or your heart with all diligence, like with all your might, with your strength and all your might, keep your mind? What does that mean? Submitting to the word of Yah, doing the word of Yah, executing the word of Yah, speaking the word of Yah. The more that you put those things on the back burners, the more that you'll be affected with sin. It says, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. We read about that in Matthew 15. Put away from you a crooked mouth, perverse lips put far from you. Now look at what it says in verse 25. Let your eyes look straight on. Let your eyelids look straight before you. That's all you need to focus on. Focus. You need to focus. So I hope that this was a clear view of how we need to guard our eyes and where we need to point. Where we point our eyes is where we go. We walk towards what we look at. We address, we speak towards what we look at. But we also receive what we look at as well. So if you're looking at wicked things on TV, what do you think you're receiving? If you're in wicked environments, what do you think you're receiving? Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. If the eye is the light of the body, and if your eye is pure, then inside your body is pure. But if your eye is darkness, how great is that darkness? Because your wicked heart is not going to allow you to know that it's darkness. It will deceive you. So I hope that this was a enlightening study. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to give us a shout, send your emails, your questions, your topics. If there's anything you would like us to address scripturally, please let us know. We'll be happy to do that for you in video form if it needs to. I want to thank you guys again for joining our class today, and you guys have a blessed day. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. Thank you guys for joining our study today. I hope that it was edifying. And if you want to support this ministry, you can support us on 4alc.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube page. Click the like button and the notification bell. I hope to see you guys on the next study. Shalom, guys.